It's Friday. It's finally here.
Hallelujah.
Yeah. Woo! Friday. Be happy it's Friday. My name is Lori Fahey, and I'm the President and CEO of the Family Cafe. And before I introduce our Florida Youth Council members, I'm just going to tell you a little bit about today. It's a milestone, guys, for 10, that's right, 10 years. This group of volunteers, your peers, individuals just like you, between the ages of 15 and 30. Oh, wait a minute, can you all hear me in the back?
No.
Yeah, you don't really care? Someone just like, yeah. Who cares what you say, right? Okay. There will be a test afterwards. Okay, thanks. So like I said, I'm very proud to announce that this group, the Florida Youth Council, for the last 10 years have been showcasing their leadership skills through one of the activities. Their biggest activity of the year is the annual Youth Summit. That's why you all are here. And it's a day and a half of an opportunity to get together, to have fun, to learn something about, when you get older. God knows we all are getting older. And basically to have a little fun together. So we've invited your parents to sit in the beginning of this event. At around 5 o'clock, I'm going to get them all out of here. Then it just becomes youth-led. And when I say parents, I mean caregivers too. I'm going to bump y'all into that, or older people. And then I'm going to take them over into the other side. And we're going to have our parent-only session. But this weekend is for you guys, you youth. The youth. It's designed for youth, by youth. And I'm so pleased and so honored that this group, and I'm going to introduce it to them in a minute, have gone above and beyond and in the celebration that you all are going to be with us for this 10th anniversary. So let's just think about that. 10 years. I think it's worth an applause, don't you? So I'm going to name the council members. I'd like them to stand if they're able, and if not, just raise your hand or toot your horn, or we'll all point at you so everyone else can see who they are. The first member, well, she's not here today, but we'll say her name anyway, Chevy Barnes. She's from the Jacksonville area. That's an applause for not coming. Isn't that great? No, I'm teasing. Derek Caraway. Derek? Tallahassee. Ruben Castro. Okay, he's here in Orlando. Megan Germain. There she is. Tallahassee too. Ian Horowitz. There you go, Ian. Where are you from? Oakland Park, near the Jacksonville area, correct? Okay, great. Christopher Reagan, also from the Jacksonville area. There you go. Dakota Smoot?
No.
Jacksonville area too, sorry. Josh Sweet. Joshua Ortiz Tapia. And so he's from Miami, he's from Orlando. I don't know where he is today. Orlando, okay. Christina Waldron. Tampa-ish area? Okay. Serena Wetmore, again in the Jacksonville area. Jacksonville, yeah, there you go. So I want to thank the Florida Youth Council, and thank you, family members of the Florida Youth Council. Thank you for allowing your youth to volunteer with us. And I do say volunteer with a big V for volunteer. They're not a paid position and they get no glory. This is their glory of coming together. So it's a lot to ask someone between the ages of 15 and 30 to volunteer at something. But to volunteer and constantly be on this council and produce products and an event and to speak and to mentor others, my gosh, and the list never ends, because as soon as they think they're done, I give them one more job to do. This is your program. Is it important?
No.
Kathy Seacrest, would you close that door, please? Thank you, ma'am. I didn't want to interrupt your talk.
Thank you very much, Miss.
Okay, sure. Thank you. In your program, because you all got a bag. Your bags are pretty cool this year. There is enough, I learned the word for it, it's called chum, that's in there. That's your giveaways. There's a book bag in there. There's other papers, but the most important thing in your conference bag is this. This is your program, so this is going to tell you a little bit about what's going on this week. That's it. Unfortunately, the very first thing it says besides the welcome letter is that Senator Bill Galvano was supposed to be here today. Well, he's not, and we're saddened by that. But he had a last-minute appointment that he had to attend to. He's also a practicing lawyer, so sometimes court cases don't end the way you expect them to. So we're going to miss him. However, his support for this event is immense, and he is a hero of the Family Cafe, so we will miss him. So Friday night, and that's what we're on here today, Friday afternoon, Friday night, from 4 to 6, you're going to be in this room listening to the keynoter, and I'll introduce her in a few minutes. Around 5 o'clock, we're going to take a bathroom break, a little short break, and all the parents and the caregivers are going to go with me, and we're going to have some fun right across the hall in Legacy 1. So there's 3 rooms on this side, parents, and it goes 3, 2, and 1. So you go in that back corner. We have door prizes. Okay, parents, we have door prizes. So I'd like you all to come in and network with us and join together, and we'll talk a little bit more about what's going on and some other things. Then after your keynote, you're going to break and you're going to go to dinner. And then you're going to come right back here. What time are you going to get dinner? Well, I'm hoping you're going to get dinner between 6 and 7:30, because at 7:30, I need you back in here. Your hand went up and it went down. Are you going to say something, or are you just swimming? Ian? You don't need to say anything. I'm going to get to it. In the middle of your program right here, it talks about our movie night. Popcorn, candies, lemonade, Kool-Aid, cookies. Oh, we're going to have it all here. Popcorn, yes. So that will be available from 7:30 to 10 o'clock. We're going to turn the lights down low. We're going to eat a lot of junk food. Then we're going to send you back up to your rooms, to your family members all hooked up on sugar. Yeah. Tonight's movie is Back to the Future. If you've seen it, you know it's awesome. If you haven't seen it, you're going to in for a big treat. Then tomorrow morning at 9:30 in the morning, that's after your parents have fed you breakfast or you ate whatever you're going to eat for breakfast, you come right back here at 9:30 in the morning. And we're going to get you all started again for 10 o'clock. We're going to meet right in here. And Sammy Tucker is going to talk to you a little bit more. And tomorrow, I hear, she's going to bring her bow and arrow. Okay? Yeah. So she'll have weapons, but she's got skills, so that's okay. Then we're going to go right next door and we're going to eat. That's the best part. We're going to eat. And then we're coming right back here after lunch tomorrow, and you get to choose which session, door number 1, door number 2, or door number 3. I guess if you're so old, you'd appreciate that, but other of you don't know about. Let's make a deal. Okay. So you go into either door, but all the sessions are broken out and talked to here. You can talk about relationships, ooh, transition, resumes and jobs. We all need one.
Me too. I have.
Fantastic. And then in the afternoon, they're going to talk about how to live away from home, transportation obstacles, and then Able United, once you have a job, how to handle your financial future. Traveling with a disability for today, now, and in the future. The Disney Pillowcase Project, that will help you with It is hurricane season, so that'll help you get prepared for hurricanes. And then about independent living, how to move towards independence. Then tomorrow night, guys, what happens tomorrow night? Yeah, there you go. So I want to see all the moves. No, parents, you cannot come to the dance. Don't ask me. It is not your dance, parents. And it is from 6:30 to 9:30. I do ask that you pick them back up at 9:30. Otherwise, I sell them. That's it. You're not picked up. I don't keep you. I don't feed you either. No, it's 6:30, 9:30 the dance. There'll be some sandwiches and some drinks, sodas. Okay, some more sugar. Okay. And some sandwiches. It's not a real big meal, but it'll tide you over if you don't get to eat before 6:30. Is there any questions?
No.
Yes, sir.
Movie, is that just for the youth too? Is that not
Yes. Not for the adults.
Josh now.
See, just for the youth. You should be happy. You look disappointed. Oh, okay. You look a little disappointed. Okay, now there's two people that's really important that I must introduce you to. But one, yes, sir. Okay, thank you. Okay, anybody else, just hold your questions while I go through this. Someone who has helped in our office all year long to provide a youth voice towards the Family Cafe. I need to take the time now, and she helps with the Florida Youth Council to help guide them, pull them together, express their needs or what they want. They have no problems, by the way, expressing their needs. None. Lori, we need this. All right, all right, all right. So it's all that age group where you know that their needs will be met because they advocate so well for them. But it's an opportunity that I must now introduce you to, and I'm going to ask her to come up here while we introduce our keynote. Her name is Nikki Germain. Give her a hand. Just hang out with me. Now, if you have a question, you go to anybody in a black t-shirt, okay? If you have a real big problem, you go to Nikki with a black t-shirt, okay? Nikki's going to solve it all. So you guys need to know anything, look for the black t-shirt people and follow their lead. They're going to tell you things that are important for one, for your health, two, for your safety, and third, just to have fun. And that's the way we do it first. Well, we usually do safety, health, and fun, okay? So if they ask you to do something, just please help them out. Go ahead.
Lori, can I come help Nikki on the side? Osborne, can I come over on the side of the state office? Can I come have a position with Nikki?
Half a position with Nikki. No.
Oh, come on.
No, can't do it. It's a funny thing, Nikki doesn't want to share her position or her paycheck, do you? No. Okay, no. Okay. Thank you, though. If we have openings, we'll let you know. But now it's that fun time where Nikki and I are going to introduce today's keynote speaker. We look really hard to try to find very interesting and exciting keynote speakers for you all. When Sammy Tucker's name came across our email as a possible keynoter, we said, oh my gosh, yes. Okay, 5 minutes later, Nikki, Lori, we got to do this. Both of us excited. Talking to her, she's been a wonderful individual to talk to. She's psyched. You're going to hear some great things from her. She's going to have you laughing. She's going to have you enjoying every bit of it. She's not a comedian. That's not what I'm trying to say. But you're going to enjoy her. Sammy has inspired people from all over the world to look at themselves, not as individuals with disabilities, but to start considering themselves to be just differently abled. She believes that her own amputation is her greatest source of her personal strength, influence, and beauty. Sounds pretty darn good. After she lost most of her arm in an accident, most people didn't expect her to thrive. she not only thrived, but she survived, and she took this loss as a final straw and flipped the switch on a life and broke through into confidence, happiness, and self-acceptance. Remember those words: confidence, happiness, and self-acceptance. Okay? So at this point, who do you want to introduce, Nikki?
Sammy Tucker.
Nikki doesn't like to speak in front of the microphone, so my rattling is so she won't have to. Yes, give it up for Sammy Tucker.
Thank you, Laura. Thank you, Nikki. Is this on? Yes. Yes. Okay. You're live. I'm live. It's hot. All right. Just want to make sure. Okay. You get the cheerleader award. You have such great energy. Nikki, or Lloyd, can you help me move this over?
Oh, yeah, I was supposed to help you.
And I'm going to set a timer because we've got a really cool thing happening about 5 o'clock. And I've been told not to miss it because it's cool for you guys. You guys are going to love it. It's a giveaway. Anybody like giveaways?
No.
Oh. Yeah. All right. So just a second. Nikki wants me to do it on my set. Is it not loud enough? Not loud enough. I don't get confused with not being loud very often. All right. Just a second. I'm going to move it up here. Is that better? Is that better? Can you hear me in the back?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's echo.
Echoing?
It's not on, in a good way, not in this one.
Now, is that one plugged into the wall?
She's not coming out of the speakers. The speaker is plugged in. Her voice is not, nothing is coming out of the speaker. No.
Yeah, it is. All right. Nikki was.
Carla, give it to Michael.
Testing. Oh, hey, 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 hey. All right. We figured it out. Only took 4 of us. Awesome. Family Youth or Florida Youth Council. Can we give them a hand because this is freaking awesome. And Lori and Nikki, this is so cool. I am so excited to be here, guys. And I want to call out my friend Dominique because she has the best dress ever. She has a superhero dress. Does anybody like superheroes around here? Yeah? I see a Batman hat and another Batman hat, and I saw some Flash stuff. I love superheroes. And I think that you guys are all superheroes. So when we talk about, you know, it was only 7 years ago that I got to find out how amazing life was and how awesome life could be and how awesome I could be. It was 7 years ago that I discovered my superpowers. And you guys have superpowers. I love walking in a room where there's energy. You guys have energy. I love walking in a room where there's happiness and joy, and you guys have happiness and joy. I absolutely love life, and I can tell you guys love life, and I guarantee you, you can't pretend. If you don't love life, you can't pretend like, yeah, I'm really liking this. I mean, you really can't. That doesn't float at all, right? So you guys don't pretend at all, and I love being here. Let me see if so actually this is, whoa, hey, we're not even plugged in here. All right, technical difficulty. So this is an exercise in when things don't go right.
Do you need Jesse?
We might, yeah, I mean, it should be working. It's up here. It says it's supposed to be working.
I'll holler for him and it'll work.
All right, let me try this. No, nope, I'm not seeing. Well, let's see here.
Here comes Jesse to save the day.
All right. Jesse to save the day. Here's our superhero. You're the superhero of the moment. So Lori works really hard to put this event together, and I've been a small part of putting events together before, and it's a lot of work. It's like chasing cats. Have you guys ever tried to herd cats? It's crazy busy. So everything that Lori has had in her mind for the past year, you are seeing. So this is the manifestation of her. Whoops, hey, there's my phone. Tarzan's my ringtone. Hey, there we go. So not only is this a manifestation of Lori's intent, it's also your manifestation. So I'm a big superhero fan. So who's like, my favorite superhero is the Hulk. Anybody love the Hulk? Yes. He's your inner demon. We need to get that under control, Nikki. Just a little bit. Just a little bit. You know, but all of these superheroes started off by losing something that really was important to them. You know, Spider-Man lost his uncle, who was just like his dad. And then he gets bit by this weird spider and he starts developing these I don't know, skills. And he can't tell anybody about it, right? So now he's lost his uncle and he's alone. Superman was orphaned as a baby, sent to a planet where they didn't even know what he was. He was alone. You know, the Hulk, he was a brilliant doctor. Experiment goes wrong. He loses his job, he loses his career, he loses his family, he loses everything. Every time he gets angry, he has to go shopping for new clothes. I hate shopping. That's got to be horrible, you know? But every one of them did something amazing with it, right? You know, the Hulk, he gets a bunch of friends that are kind of as unique, as uncommon as him. And I hate saying that I'm disabled, because I'm not. I'm uncommon. I'm distinct. I'm unique. Being common was really, really awful for me. I didn't have any superpowers at that time at all. I didn't have friends either. I needed to do what the Hulk did. He got around a whole bunch of people who understood how special they were and how special he was, and he used his powers to help other people. And I believe that if you're not helping other people, you're not living. So if you're not giving, you're not living. And that's why I'm so honored to be here today to tell you about how losing my arm was the best gift that I ever gave myself. So a little bit about me. You know, I'm a Paralympic archer, and tomorrow I will have my bow up here and my arrow, and I'll just need a couple people to hold an apple on their head and stand real still. I see people pointing next, going, that person right there. No, I won't do that actually. But I will have my bow here, and you guys can see it, and you can check your arrows out. And I'm 48 years old. So to become an athlete at my age, I didn't think that was ever going to be possible. Because I didn't grow up being taught that I was great. I didn't grow up being taught that I could be anything special. I was told that I'm not the smart one, I'm not the pretty one, I'm the one that draws and rides horses. And so I grew up, that was my school. I grew up in Nebraska. If you guys have ever seen Dances with Wolves? No? It's filmed in the middle of freaking nowhere. That's where I grew up. Freaking nowhere. It's so flat in Nebraska you can see yesterday and tomorrow at the same time. It's that flat. So I would get up in the morning and I would saddle my horse and I would cake the calves and slop the hogs and feed the chickens. And I would ride my horse 6 miles to school right there. And in the corner there is a little pin, and I would pin up my horse. And me and 8 other people went to school in the same room. So it was tiny. We had one TV station, and the call signs were KDUH. So when KDUH is your call signs, that's your portal to the outside world. I mean, talk about not knowing what the world was about. And my grandfather ran away from home at 8 years old. He grew up in a really, really abusive family. And so he ran away to a ranch, and the ranch hands raised him. So he was literally raised by cowboys. And he would break horses and ride broncs, and he was a great man, and his nickname was Sonny because he always had a smile on his face, except for when he didn't have a smile on his face. And then he was like Raging Bull. But because he didn't have family, he had a really, really tight sense of what family is, right? And so we all lived on his land, and it was considered a betrayal to have friends outside of the family. So I didn't know how to make friends, and his rule was if you didn't work, you didn't eat. And I liked to eat.
Me too.
Yeah, girl, I know, right? And we grew our own food, and we butchered our own cattle, and we ate good. We ate well. But you know, there was a lot of there was a lot of abuse growing up too. There was a lot of physical and emotional abuse, and I experienced sexual abuse by family friends, and there was alcoholism, and there was drug abuse, and abandonment and divorce. And the problem is that I started believing that that's who I was, and that's where my value was. And when I left high school, I didn't believe that I was ever going to accomplish anything or that I had any value at all. And it wasn't until I was 41 years old that all of that changed. See, growing up, I worked, and my play was usually with just my horses. And I didn't believe that I could do athletics because when I was 6 years old, has anybody ever played t-ball? No. No? Yeah, I see some t-ball. Yes. Yeah, so my mom put me in t-ball when I was 6 years old. And I know, I was 6. And I go up there and I'm at the bat, right? And they got the little ball here. I don't know how many swings it took me, but I finally made contact with the ball. And I take off running and I make it almost to first base. But the ball got there before me and I was out. So I was like, all right, now what do I do? And they said, all right, go back to the dugout. And I'm headed back to the dugout, and the coach stops me and he hands me a glove. And he says, no, you stay on first base. The other team's gonna bat now. So here I am, I've got this glove that's like bigger than my whole head, you know? And I'm looking at it, and I'm standing on first base, and I'm watching the little girl, and she swings and makes contact with the ball. And I'm like, yes! And I take off running to second base. And I'm like, they aren't even paying attention to me. That girl isn't even seeing if I'm gonna make it to second base, you know? And I make it, and I made it to second base. And I'm so proud of myself. And everybody's freaking out. Because I was supposed to stay on first base, right?
Yes, you do.
I know, I had no idea. Didn't know the rules. And so everybody's yelling at me, so I'm headed back to first base, and the coach comes up, and he says, when you have the glove, you stay on first base. And he just gets like right in my face, and he yells at me. And I didn't understand, and I started crying. And I dropped the glove, and I left the field, and I never came back. And at 6 years old, I started believing that I couldn't play sports, and that if I did play sports, I would let the team down. Now, was that true that I couldn't play sports? No.
Yes.
No, I just didn't know the rules. Girl, you and I. I didn't know the rules, but that one time when he yelled at me and I got so scared and so embarrassed, formed a belief in me that I kept for the rest of my life. I can't play sports. So I started saying I'm not an athlete. And then my mom convinced me in high school, she's like, you have to try out for a sport. So I tried out for basketball. Now, any basketball players? Yeah? I am so a white girl. I didn't know that at the time. So I go, and they hand me this ball, and I'm like, okay, I'm bouncing the ball. Not too hard. I got this, you know? And coach was like, all right, so everybody, we're gonna run full court. Dribble the ball all the way down, turn around, dribble as fast as you can. I'm like, okay, I got this. And I take off running, and the ball doesn't follow me. I'm really confused, but my hand's still doing this. I'm like, you know, on TV, it looks like it's just a magnet. You know, so I'm like, I go back and I get the ball and I try to move, and I can move kind of slow. And finally I figured out one thing. I can either dribble the ball or I can run. If you want both, that's just not gonna happen. I didn't know how to do that. So the coach said, I've got the perfect position for you. See that bench over there? Needs warmed up. So I warmed up the bench all year. And again, that just solidified in my mind that I can't play sports. It wasn't true. I just didn't know how. I needed somebody to teach me how to play sports, right? So I went through this whole lifetime of believing that I wasn't good enough. And so here's a picture of me in high school. Now, you can't tell it from that picture. That is me. You can't tell that from the picture, but my senior year of high school, all of this emotional stuff, it was right after the basketball embarrassment, and all this emotional stuff was really just getting to me. And in my family, you were to be seen and not heard. So I didn't know how to speak my voice. I didn't know how to talk about anything that was going on. So instead of talking about stuff, I ate. And my senior year of high school, I put on 60 pounds. Yeah, 60 pounds in a year is I'm an overachiever. Yep. But I was just covering up all the shame and the fear and the guilt that I felt, right? And I left high school, and I didn't know how to stand up for myself. And I thought my problems were my family, and I thought my problems was where I came from, and I thought my problems were my school. So I left and I moved to a big city, and I had neon lights on my forehead. This one said angry, and this one said naive. And you know what? Like magnet to a steel, you attract what you're like. So I attracted people that also didn't believe that I was worth anything. But guess who did think I was worth something? Drug dealers. Yeah. I know. Didn't know that at the time either. I started smoking pot. Because I just wanted the pain to go away, right? And I didn't know how to talk things through. So pot turned into cocaine. And cocaine turned into crystal meth. And it got so bad that I was nothing but skin and bone. And I married a man who was also a drug addict, and he was abusive. See, I knew how to fit that role. And I hadn't left the house in weeks, and I'm paranoid, and I can't get off the meth. And every time I try, the withdrawals are so painful and so awful. And I'm so alone. And then I end up marrying the guy. That wasn't a wise choice at all. And we continue down this path. And I had tried to commit suicide. I thought, I just want the pain to end. I'm not worth anything anyway. I'm broken, I'm damaged, I'm not smart, I don't have any skills. I just wanted the pain to end. Well, thank God I didn't end up committing suicide. I woke up. And a couple months later, I find out that I'm pregnant. Uh-oh. Yep. And you know, I didn't want my baby to go through the same thing that I went through. So I hit my knees and I prayed to God, just heal me. Just heal me. Because I didn't have the skills to fix it myself. And when I got up from the floor, I was clean. I never went through withdrawals. I never had a problem with drugs after that. What I did have was a reason to live. You know, we all got to have a reason to live, right? Something that motivates us every day. When you get up in the morning, you're excited. Well, I had this baby, and I was excited. So I decided I was going to make a few changes in my life, right? So I joined the Air Force. And you know all those problems that were back home at high school, and all those problems with my so-called friends, and the problems with not feeling good enough? When I put that uniform on, they were still there. Yep, I had a great smile, and on the outside, everything looked great. Have you ever done that? Have you been like in a position where you're just smiling, but on the inside, you're dying? And you just want to cry? Yeah. No. I did that for a long time. But you know what? Some things did turn around. I had this great structure now, and I had people that had a mission and a purpose. Remember when I said, if you're not giving, you're not living? I finally had something to give to. I had my daughter and I had my nation, and it was pretty cool. But you know what? Remember when I said growing up that I was supposed to be seen and not heard? Guess what job they put me in? What? I was supposed to be a TV and radio broadcaster. Oh yeah. Whoa. Yeah, so when I got out of basic training and they sent me to school to speak in front of people, I did a whole lot of crying. And when I got sent away to my first duty station, I sat under a tree at night in front of the radio station and the TV station and cried because I was so scared. I didn't know how to talk in front of people because I felt if they heard me talk, they would call me out as a fraud. Who are you to stand up and speak? Who are you? You're too stupid. You know? But little by little, I started facing some of my fears. And I got to where I kind of enjoyed that job. And one day, I don't know if you've ever been together, you know when you get together with your friends and you're having a good time and everybody starts like telling stories and getting brave? So it's not just me, right? There's some tall stories that get told. Well, I was at a barbecue one night and these people that I was riding motorcycles with, they're like, yeah, we go cliff diving. We go diving off the cliffs into the ocean. I lived in Italy at the time. And they're like, you should go. And I was like, oh, totally, we'll do that. Totally. They're like, okay, tomorrow we're going to do this. You know, meet at like 6 o'clock. So I go back home and I'm laying in my bed and I'm going, wait a second. Well, there was alcohol involved. Maybe they won't remember. All I can think of is they're like, yeah, it's about a 50-foot cliff into the water. I'm afraid of heights. Did I tell you that? Totally afraid of heights.
No.
Nebraska doesn't have any heights. There's nothing taller than this. But I was determined that I was going to face my fears, right? So all night, I couldn't even sleep. All I could imagine was going up to the edge of that cliff and looking down. And just the thought of it just almost made me sick. And in my mind, again, I'd go up to the edge of that cliff and look down. So the next day I show up and I'm thinking, maybe they won't show up, right? So I get out of my car and I walk around the corner and the whole gang's there. I'm like, seriously? I'm going to have to go through with this thing. So we go off and it's in Italy and it's just this sheer rock cliff, 50 feet. That's 5 stories. That's like jumping out of the window on the 5th floor here. That's just crazy. So I wasn't going to go first. I wanted to make sure that they could not only jump off of it, but crawl back up and they came back alive. You know, I'm not stupid. I'm just a scaredy cat. So I get up to the edge of it, and it took me like 6-7 times. Have you ever been so scared of something that like you wanted to do it, but then you backed away? Yeah, you have? Yeah, and then you wanted to do it, and then you backed away?
Yeah.
And you gotta like really dig deep and get some courage. So finally, I didn't even go up to the edge. I just ran and jumped. Screamed like a girl all the way down. Hit the water, came back up and realized, oh my God, I lived. So I crawled up and I did it again. And then I thought, all right, I didn't die. Now what else can I do? So it was a couple months later and the special forces came through the base. And so I was a TV broadcaster, so I went and did a TV story on them. And they're like, hey, you want to come jump out of a helicopter with us at night with no parachute? I'm like, sure, why not? That sounds like a great idea. So you know what the training for that was? We went to the fire station, and you know, you've seen on TV where the firemen slide down that pole? They had me slide down the pole. That was the training for jumping out of a helicopter at night, sliding down a pole. So I was like, okay, well, if that checks the box on safety, this is going to be a good time. So we get out there at night, and it's literally, it's this Black Hawk, and there's a rope hanging out there. And you're just supposed to jump and not miss the rope, right? At night. So they all do it, and by golly, I'm not going to be, they're like, you got it in you, little girl? And I'm like, oh, they called me little girl. Oh, that's all they needed to say. So I ran and I jumped and I grabbed the rope and I slid down. And I hit the ground, and you have to kind of low crawl out. And I was like, made it, did it. Yeah, so that was another fear off my list. And you know, so slowly I'm starting to think, hey, I might be capable of doing some things. You know, fear just kind of keeps you in your box. Oops, I'm gonna get some water here. So, but when my boss found out that I did that, I got in a lot of trouble. Because I did. I'm good at getting in trouble. Because I was also pregnant at the time with my second baby. So I got out of the Air Force and stayed home with my girls because I didn't want my kids to have the same experience that I had, right? I wanted them to have a stable home. And I'd already been divorced once, so I was on my second husband. I wanted them to have a stable home. So I stayed home with them for 8 years and loved every minute of it. And then when the terrorists attacked America on 9/11, my husband and I decided that we would go back and he would go back into the military and we would just make it happen, and he wanted to serve. So he ended up joining the Army, and I ended up going up to work for the Army. So that's me with the circle around there. And I went into public affairs, so I was on the other side of the camera. And again, things look really good. I mean, I've got a great smile and things look really good on the outside, right?
Yes, hope so.
But they weren't. I still was living every day of my life just wanting the pain to end. I still didn't believe in myself. That little voice inside of my head that was put there by people that didn't understand. Now, my family loved me, and they did the best that they could, because that's all we ever do, right, is the best that we know how to do. Nobody wakes up in the morning and says, I'm going to jack this day up 9 ways to Sunday, right? No, stuff just happens. And if we're not intentional, a lot of bad stuff happens. So at this point, I'm getting ready to go through, actually that week, my second divorce. And I'm completely feeling like a failure. And I'm like, dang it, that my kids are going to go through the same thing I went through. I even messed that up. I have absolutely no self-worth. So I decide the best thing to do is to go to war. Because there's so much turmoil inside of me that maybe if I go deploy to Afghanistan, it'll kind of even out. Not a very good idea, huh? But that's where I was headed. So I got selected to help stand up a new unit that the Department of Defense was putting together. And they brought in civilians, and they brought in National Guard, and they brought in active duty, and we all trained together to go deploy to combat. So it was at this time that I'm getting ready to go through, all right, how many divorces have I had so far? 2. 1, 2. I'm getting ready to go through my third divorce. Yeah, because I'm an overachiever again, remember? Yeah. Kids haven't spoken to me. Nothing. I'm just wanting to die inside. And again, I'm letting fear control absolutely everything. You know what? I was addicted to meth early on, and then when I broke that addiction and God healed me, there was another addiction that I wasn't aware of. I was addicted to fear. Did you know that when you have a thought, so I want you guys to do this with me. I want you to think of a time when you were really, really sad. Just go back to a moment when you really felt super sad. And that doesn't have to be the saddest you've ever felt, but just a time when you were sad. And close your eyes and think about that time. You guys got it in your head?
Yes.
So when you were thinking about that time, how did your body feel?
Good.
Did it feel kind of heavy in the chest and you felt sad. You weren't just thinking of the time, you were feeling it, right? So I want you to now think of a time when you were incredibly happy, like one of the happiest times ever. I want you to close your eyes and think about that. I can see some of you have it because I see some smiles coming on your face. And you know what I also see? Some of you sat up a little straighter. What happens when you think about something is that your body has a reaction to it. Did you know that when you think of something, your body creates a chemical? Just like if you consume sugar, it produces a chemical. You get that kind of rush. Well, I had been thinking bad thoughts about myself for so long. Those bad thoughts produce chemicals in your body, and then your body sends that chemical back up to your brain, which sends chemicals out to your body, and you have this cycle. And I was actually addicted to being afraid. I was addicted to being sad. And when I would try to talk myself into not being sad or not being afraid, my body's like, well, wait a minute, this is not how we are. This is not who I am. And so it didn't like it. And I would go right back down that negative spiral. Have you ever noticed that sometimes when you get on a negative thought, it won't go away, won't go away, won't go away. And it's really hard to break. You know what? I had so many fights in my head. I was fighting with people all the time. Didn't say anything, but I was constantly having a fight in my head. And that's what I was addicted to. And I don't know if you guys know this, but our brains are amazing. We have about 60 to 70,000 thoughts a day. 60 to 70,000. And did you know that 90% of them are on repeat? Repeat. They're the same thoughts that you've been thinking yesterday, that you thought the day before, that you thought the day before. We're on autopilot. I was on autopilot of just a lot of negativity. A lot of negativity. So I want to do one more experiment about how the body and mind are connected. So I want everybody to hold your arm out like this. And I want you to close your eyes, and I want you to picture a lemon in your hand. It's a juicy, fresh, ripe lemon, and it's cut in half. And I want you to squeeze the lemon, and I want you to squeeze it so hard that the juice runs over the edge of the lemon. And it's running out over your hand. Now I want you to take that lemon, I want you to bring it up to your nose and take a big whiff. There's nothing that smells as clean and fresh as a lemon. Now I want you to take that lemon and I want you to shove it in your mouth. The whole lemon, shove it in your mouth. Keep your eyes closed still. Shove it in your mouth, and I want you to chew and suck all of the juice out of it. Suck all of the juice out of it. Okay. Now you can open your eyes. So, did anybody create more saliva? No. Yeah? I saw a lot of this going on in faces. Did you get that little tingle, that sharp tingle in the back of your jaw? Yeah. Was there a lemon? No. No. Did your body know that? No. No. It didn't, because it still had the same reaction, right? It's what we expect. The body, did you know, doesn't know the difference between real experiences and pretend ones like the lemon. It doesn't know the difference. And you know, I didn't understand how important my thoughts were at all. And what we think about, we bring about. Have you guys ever heard that? The things you think about. Did you realize that you actually think about everything that you do right before you do it, like a split second? And I got this really clearly when I lost my hand. Because I still go to do something and I'll visualize doing it and I still visualize having a hand. And then I have to realize, whoop, okay, I don't have a hand and I gotta reprogram everything, right? So it was this time right here, when I'm getting ready to go to Afghanistan and I'm fighting with my husband. And we didn't live together. And one morning I had been fighting all night with him. And I get up in the morning and I decide I'm going to ride my motorcycle to work. Because it calms me down. And I lived in Kentucky and there were beautiful fall leaves. And I knew that if I just got in the motorcycle, it would calm me down and I would feel really relaxed. So I get on my motorcycle and I ride through the hills and I make it to work and it works. I'm peaceful, I'm relaxed. Get off my helmet and I put it on the motorcycle and then I look up at work. And I want to ask you a question. When you woke up this morning, did you visualize your whole day?
No. Yes.
Most people don't. And you know why we don't visualize our whole day? Because we don't know the power of visualization. But we actually do practice our day before we live it out. So how many people got up this morning on the same side of the bed that they always sleep on? Might not have been your bed, but you're on the same side. And you do the same routine. You go in, maybe your routine's a little different. Go in, brush my teeth, make the coffee, take my favorite cup, sit it down, fix my coffee the same way, I go, I sit in my recliner, I do my journaling, I get dressed the same way, I make my bed the same way, I drive to work the same way, I talk to the same people initially, I'm having the same conversations, I eat the same thing for breakfast, I come home the same way, I do the same thing at night. We are living in a routine of habit. Now, I didn't know how powerful that was. But a clue was when I got off that motorcycle and I looked up at my work building, there was like this movie going on in my head. And I went through the whole day before I even walked in the building. I was gonna walk in and my boss was gonna be a jerk and there was gonna be drama and the day was gonna suck. Have you ever had a moment where you're like, I've just had such a bad day, and if you looked back on it, you really had 5 minutes of the day that you just kept living over and over and over? Yeah, that's what I was doing. 5 minutes of the day I would let ruin my whole day, and then I would think about it all night. And I was like Groundhog Day. Have you guys seen Groundhog Day? Where Bill Murray, he just keeps going over, he just has that same day, right? Over and over and over. And he gets so frustrated by the thing that at a time he wants to kill himself. So he's trying to figure out how to kill himself, jumps off the buildings and does all this stuff, but he keeps waking up and repeating the same stinking day. Now, what did he have to do to change that? He had some lessons to learn, right? He had to learn to value people. He had to learn to value himself. He had to really learn to appreciate life. And then he could break that habit. So I go through, and I already knew what my day was going to be like. And surprise, it was. The day sucked. It did. Because I made it suck. It was my thoughts. So I get off of work, and so I get on my motorcycle, and I'm crying. Because I've been fighting with my husband via email all day, right? The same conversations over and over, fighting with my boss. And I'm trying to hold back tears. And I'm blinking back tears. Now, I had volunteered for an event called Shine. Have you guys heard of Shine? Yeah. Oh, Shine's like the best thing ever. Shine is this, my church had 20,000 people in it. And every year they would put on this huge ball for people with disabilities. And I had volunteered to help do hair and makeup. Now this event, guys, is like epic. It's like Cinderella. They do the ball gowns and they do the makeup and they have tuxedos and there's camera people and there's games and I mean it is the prom. It is an all-out affair. And I had volunteered to do this. But I'm sitting there on the motorcycle and you know that voice that I was telling you about, that voice that's like you're not good enough? That sucker popped up. And he's like, I was like, the last thing I want to do is go help some kids. That's all I was saying. I was like, the last thing I would do is go help some kids. And that voice is like, they won't miss you anyway. They won't miss you anyway. Nobody needs you. You don't even need to go. So I'm having this struggle. Have you ever had a struggle where like part of you wants to do something and part of you doesn't? I was having that struggle. And then, so I'm like, no, but I said I'd do it. I said I'd do it. I volunteered. And I'm really having a struggle. And then I hear this voice. And the voice says, hey, Sam, we're going to the bar to sing karaoke. You want to come? And I was like, that sounds like an option because I don't want to go home and just be alone either. So I put on my gear and I head off of Fort Knox. Now, I worked at Fort Knox, Kentucky, for the Army. And it's that Fort Knox where all the gold is. And I was leaving the base, and I was driving on a road I wasn't familiar with, and I wasn't doing anything wrong. I was only going 45 miles an hour, but I was distracted because I was still crying. And I didn't see the debris in the road. And by the time I saw the debris, it was too late. So see, I didn't pick the kids, guys, and I didn't make it to the bar either. Everything went black for about a second. And then, I know you guys are movie buffs. You know how in the movies when things are like war scenes and like car wrecks where everything, or even like in Avengers, sometimes everything just moves really slow. That's what happened. And the next thing I know, I have all these beautiful colors going in front of my face. They're blue and they're bright orange, and I'm really confused, and I don't know what's going on. And I look to my right, and I'm like, why are my feet being dragged down the highway? And I look back, and I realize that I'm underneath my motorcycle, and it's dragging me down the highway. And I don't hear anything, and I don't feel anything. I just see everything in slow motion. And I just keep thinking, this cannot be happening. This cannot be happening to me. And then suddenly everything came to an end. And there was an explosion of sound and heat, and I'm underneath the motorcycle, and I push myself away from it, and my sleeve had gotten caught in the drive belt, and most of my arm was gone. And I just started running and screaming and running down the highway, just screaming, oh God, oh Jesus. And the lady that was in front of me stopped me, and she laid me down in the ditch. And I looked at my arm, and now you gotta remember, the most important thing to me at that time was going where? Well, the hospital should have been, but my whole thing was I wanted to go to Afghanistan, my deployment. That was the thing. See, I was gonna make $250,000 that year, and I would never need anybody again. That was my whole mindset. So even though I had just watched my arm get taken from me, the first words out of my mouth were, if this screws up my deployment, I'm gonna be so pissed. That's a wrong focus, guys. That's a wrong focus, right? I mean, seriously. My head was not in the right place. And the lady that laid me down, she was an Iraqi vet, and she said, oh, honey, you're not going anywhere. And then she's asking me questions. It's something about a knife, and I told her where my knife was, and so she leaves my field of view. And I think she's probably gonna go get her tourniquet, I don't know. Is it about that time? No, okay. Yeah, I think she's gonna go get a tourniquet, but I'm alone. And I'm thinking, wow. I mean, I still remember the clouds, and they were puffy white clouds, and they're drifting by, and I could see the leaves blowing in the breeze, beautiful fall colors. And I'm thinking, this is it. I've been wanting to die my whole life, and this is it. 41 years, and this is what I've done. And it wasn't like the movies. I didn't see like flashes of this was the highlight of my life, and this was the low light of my life, and I didn't see, anything like that. I just had one feeling, one emotion, and it was an overwhelming sense of remorse. Because I barely knew my family. I wouldn't get to say goodbye to them. Come on through. I wouldn't get to say goodbye to them, and this was it. Everything that I'd been wanting to happen. I just wanted the pain to end, but this is what I was leaving behind. And I was so stinking lost at that moment. I was so lost. And it reminds me of a story that I've heard that I think really describes it well. So there was this little soul, and this little soul comes running up to God one day, and it says, God, I know what I am. And God says, okay, little soul, what are you? I am the light. Okay, yes, you are the light. And the little soul was so excited because it finally figured it out. See, in the kingdom, all the little souls were there to figure out what they were. And all the little souls were light. And so the little soul was so excited, and he's jumping around, and he's happy. But then he's like, well, wait a second. So it goes back to God, and that's not a bad part to do if you have questions about what you are. So he goes back to God, and he's like, okay, God, so, it's cool that I'm the light and all, but somehow I want to be the light. And God's like, honey, you are the light. You want to be what you are? Well, yeah, I want to feel what it's like to be the light. I want to feel it. And God kind of chuckled, and he's like, well, that makes sense because you were always adventurous. But little soul, there's a problem. Little soul's like, what? He said, well, little soul, there isn't anything other than the light. Everything I've created is perfect. And the little soul's like, so there's no way for me to be what I am? This is going to be so boring. And God's like, no. He said, there just isn't anything other than you. And the little soul's like, I don't understand. Why can't I be the light? And he said, well, let me put it to you this way. He said, you are a candle in the sun. And without you, the sun wouldn't shine as bright. So the sun wouldn't be the sun. It'd kind of be the sun, but it wouldn't be as bright. So if you're a candle in the sun, it's impossible for the light to know it's light when it's surrounded by the light. And the little soul's like, well, you're God, so you're going to have to figure it out. And God's like, okay, I already have. He's like, really? It's like, yeah. Okay, so what I'm going to have to do, little soul, is I'm going to have to create something that's not you. I'm going to have to let you experience the darkness. The soul's like, ooh, darkness. What's darkness? Well, darkness is everything that you're not. Oh, am I going to be afraid of the darkness? God says, well, there's no reason to be afraid of the darkness. But if you choose to be afraid of it, then yeah, you will be. But see, little soul, we're just pretending. We're just going to pretend. And the soul's like, oh, okay, that's good. And God said, but there's a problem. And he's like, really? Seriously? He's getting pretty impatient at this point. He's like, well, how do you want to experience yourself? And the little soul's like, I don't understand. You're the light. He said, yes, but the light is very special. And he goes, I get to be special? God's like, yes, you get to be special, but how do you want to be special? The little soul's like, I don't understand. Well, it's special to be compassionate. It's special to be creative. It's special to be joyful. So what kind of special do you want to be? And the little soul thought, and he's like, okay, I get to be any kind of special. He says, I know, I want to be forgiving. I want to be the kind of special that's forgiving. So God says, okay, that's going to cause a problem. And he's like, what? We already have the darkness, God. He said, yes, but there's nobody to forgive. God, this is going to be no fun at all. He's like, everything around here is so beautiful. And just then the little soul looked around and he was surrounded by all the other little souls in the kingdom. Because all the little souls had heard that this little soul and God were having a pretty kicking conversation and they wanted to know what was going on. So he looks around and he's like, there's nobody here to forgive? And just then a kind soul stepped forward. And he said, I will help you. And he's like, you will? How will you help me? Why would you help me? And he said, well, I'll help you because I love you. Oh, that kind of surprised the little soul. And he said, well, how will you help me? What will you do? And he said, I will come down to the earth in your life, and I will do something that you will need to forgive. Oh, well, how can you do that? I mean, you are this great being of light. You shine so bright, your vibration is so high, and you are so bright that I can barely look at you. Why would you lower your vibration so low as to become the darkness and do this mean thing? And the kind soul said, I will do it because I love you. And just then God interjected and he said, little soul, I want you to remember one thing. This kind soul is an angel, and I will never send you anything but angels. So the little soul's like, oh, I won't forget. I won't forget at all. And the kind soul says, okay, it's a deal then. I will come down to earth, but I need you to remember something for me, little soul. When I come down to earth and I do that thing and I strike you and I hurt you and I say that mean thing and I hurt your feelings, I need you to remember who I am, because I will have to pretend to be something I'm not. And I may have forgotten who I am. And if you don't remember who I am, I may not ever remember. And if you forget who you are, then we will both be lost. And the little soul's like, I will not forget. I will not forget. And when he went down to earth, anytime somebody did something good to him, he was so grateful. And anytime somebody did something bad to him, he was so grateful. And he reminded them that they were just a lost little soul, but they were from the light. Because God promised him that he would send him nobody but angels. So I'm laying there in that ditch, and I'm thinking, I am so lost. And there's no time for angels. I don't have any more angels. And then I hear another voice. And that voice said 3 words that changed my life forever. 3 words that led me to being on this stage today. 3 words that led me to choosing to help. 3 words that led me to my belief that if you're not giving, you're not living. Would you like to know those 3 words? Yeah? When we come back from break, I'll tell you what they are. Oh, she's like, oh. So what I need you guys to do is in your name tags, I need everybody to pull out one of your names, and we're going to put it in a bag, and we're going to have a drawing for a laptop, right, Nikki? Right. A laptop, guys. So everybody pull out one name tag. Yeah, if you need help, ask somebody beside you, and then just pass them down to the end of the table, and we're going to put them in a bag. Yeah. Okay, if you guys need help, just raise your hand, okay, and somebody will come and help. So volunteers, we've got some people with their hands raised, if you will help them. All right, we're back on. So who's been guessing what the 3 words are? Anybody have any ideas? No? Have you lost interest? You don't want to? What's your idea?
I love you.
Oh, that's awesome. Those are some of the most powerful words, huh? He said, I love you. How do you feel when somebody tells you, I love you? Special, huh? Yeah. What's your idea? Thanks? Faith. Yes. Yeah, faith? Faith. Yeah. Yeah, and faith. I mean, everything we do either operates out of fear or faith, right? Either we're going to move towards things that scare us because we're too afraid to go to the things that we really deserve. Because honestly, guys, I've been talking a lot about the past me, the person I used to be, when I was common and when I was able-bodied. I had all my parts. I had a hand and I had a bicep, and actually, this is from my stomach. So my appendicitis scar is right here. So they took it from my stomach to try to repair the arm and stuff. So I don't even have a bicep. So I really am an amputee from here down. But I was more disabled. And hopefully you're able to kind of like see that now. I was more disabled before I lost my arm.
What happened to your arm?
I lost it in the motorcycle accident, remember?
Wow.
Yeah. So what had happened was I hit debris and my sleeve got caught in the drive belt and the wheel ground my arm off. Yeah, it stung a bit. Yep. So I'm laying there in that ditch, right? And God said he only sends what to us? Angels. And sometimes angels have forgotten who they are, right? And they turn into angry, mean, sad people. And I was one of those angry, mean, sad people, laying in the ditch with no more time, no more angels. And then I heard another voice. And the voice seemed to come from everywhere. It came from the grass, it came from the clouds, it came from the air, it came from inside me. And the 3 words were really simple. They were, you are mine. And when God shows up and says, you are mine, when that happens, I finally remembered who I was.
Amen.
And I became that little soul going, I remember who I am. I remember what I am. And God was like, what part of special do you want to be? I want to be the part of special that gives and lives. I want to be the part of special that helps people turn their wounds into the weapons that hurt them. This is the greatest weapon I've ever received. It's the weapon that I turn against the shame and the fear and the guilt and the anger that I had let lead my whole life. So I'm laying there in the ditch and I just learned who I am, which was pretty cool. When you're going to die, you know where you're going to go. I thought that was pretty awesome. You know, the fear was gone. I didn't have anything to be afraid of anymore. And just then another angel appeared. And this angel was a soldier that had a tourniquet. And the soldier put a tourniquet on my arm. And eventually an ambulance came, and then the helicopter came. And the woman that was drug into that ditch, guys, was not the same woman that was carried out. I remember coming out of that ditch going, I don't know what this means, but it's going to be freaking cool. I mean, I had just lost my arm, and all I could think was, it's going to be so cool. So I had a clear intention of who I was and what I wanted to do. Now, this is going to be freaking awesome, and that was me. The girls back there going, oh, please, don't. Just don't. Don't make me see it. Come on, the adults left the room. We can handle this, right? No? Oh. Did that look freaking cool? No, it didn't look freaking cool at all. It looked awful, didn't it? Yes. Okay, I will show. Oh, we're getting conflicting. All right. So I will fast forward it. But coming out of the hospital took 5 days, and then they amputated that, and I had 14 months of surgery. And all I could still think was, it's going to be freaking cool. Now, how could I go from being an insecure person with 2 functional arms to being a lady with a club who now says life's going to be freaking cool? Yeah, it's like a club. It's really not worth anything. You know, I can hang grocery sacks off of it. It's really awesome for that. That's about all it's worth. That's about all it's worth. So if this is the case, then am I my body? Does my value come from how my body looks? No.
God made it that way.
Yeah. See, I did this to myself. I put myself in that ditch through the choices that I made. God didn't leave me in that ditch.
He's with you all the way.
And he gave me a purpose. I believe that every one of us, guys, has a meaning and a life of purpose and joy, that's what we were created for. So we all come to that point in our life where everything changes. Now, why do you think that I would want to just die and I would be so sad, and then I would lose my arm and then all of a sudden be happy? Does that make sense? It didn't make sense, but you know what? It was the first time when I looked at myself, I didn't look like me. And I was able to see myself for the first time. And when you can really see yourself, I got to create myself. We get to create ourselves every day. We get to recreate whoever we want to be every day. So one of the first things I learned in the hospital was that I had to create a new normal. There we go. Got through that real fast. I had to create a new normal. So remember when I said you guys are not normal and it's the most beautiful part about you? Yeah. Normal is boring. See, normal people don't have really, really hard things to work through often. I was talking to several of you guys and talking about the things, the challenges that you have to overcome every day. Whether it's with logistics, whether it's getting our body parts to work the way we want, or maybe it's just basically communication. See, the days that we wake up to every day, we have enormous challenges that we have to work through every day. Remember when I was talking about the superheroes and how they have all of this loss and pain, and they're different. They're different, and that's where their power comes from. Remember when I said I love walking into a room full of joy? Yeah. And how happy and joyful you guys are? You guys are the most strong, powerful people on the planet. Nothing stops you. I know people that have full use of their body and they're sitting their butt on their couch and they're doing nothing with their life and they're loving nobody. You guys are here and you're building community and you're working towards growth and making yourself and your family and your whole world better. You guys are superheroes. So see what I did that day when I said this is going to be so freaking cool? If you ever have anything that you want to change in your life, the reason often that we don't get that change made is because we don't change our identities. Remember when I would say, I am not lovable, I am not smart, I am not good enough? The statements that we say, anything you say after the word I am, is a command to your mind to fulfill. I am awesome. It's a command to your mind to fulfill. So if you say, I am not good at learning, it's a command to your mind to fulfill. So I want you guys to think of something that you say that's negative about yourself. You don't have to say it out loud, because we've all got that. I am, and fill in the blank. Now you know. See, knowledge is power. Knowledge about yourself is self-empowerment. You now know, and it's scientific, guys, it's been proven. When you say statements, I am, it's a command, and your mind will find things in the world to back it up. I am a loser, and I produced a life of a loser, because that's who I believed I was. Now I believe that I am awesome, and that I'm a person that can help people change and live a better life. And because that's what I say about myself, opportunities to fulfill that happen. That's how I end up talking with you guys. Because I am using the thing that people are like, oh my God, how do you do that? How do you overcome losing an arm? And I'm like, man, this is just a wound out here. You want to talk about wounds? Talk about these ones in here. The wounds and the scars that we carry inside that people don't even want to talk about, that you cover with a smile. Remember that smile I had growing up? Yeah. Oh yeah, you just cover all that crap up with a smile. Nobody knows there's any pain going on inside. This is an easy wound. Let's talk about the wounds that we have inside. And they come from 3 different areas. The things that you think. Remember when I talked to you about if you have a thought, it produces a chemical reaction, which produces an emotion, which justifies the thought in your mind? How we think about things drives how we see things. Our thoughts then produce actions, right? Okay, so let's say that you are going into a situation and you're like, oh, I'm so insecure. So I want you guys to say in your mind, I'm so insecure. So I am so insecure. Now when you say that, that produces a feeling, right? Your body starts feeling a little bit uncertain. And then that feeling of uncertainty, that goes right back up to your mind. And then pretty soon, you're really feeling uncertain. You've gone from thinking that I'm uncertain and I'm insecure to I'm insecure. Now, if you keep thinking that over and over, that becomes a mood. Have you ever gone up like, what's the matter with you? Oh, I'm in a mood. Well, really? Why are you in a mood? Well, this person said this thing to me a couple hours ago. Now, sometimes we get stuck on that. Well, Sarah called me a what's-and-so last week, and I'm still mad at her. And then And then Jack said that I was also stupid. And now I'm just mad and hurt. And then you keep going in that. And you know what? If you keep doing that weeks and months, it becomes a habit. Months and years becomes a personality trait. What's the matter with her? Oh, she's just an angry, mean person. Just because she kept thinking about the same thing over and over and over. Remember, you can take a 5-minute bad experience during the day and ruin your whole day? Yeah, that's what I'd been doing a lot of. So, and again, that goes back to feeling. Feelings are so, so powerful. So, remember when I asked you to think about the happiest moment in your life? And you can all remember that time, right? You don't have a hard time remembering that. What were you doing last Tuesday?
I don't know.
A lot of blank looks out there, right? Yeah, you're like, it was just Tuesday. You should be able to remember. This is, what is today? So today's Friday?
Yeah.
Geez, that's less than 2 weeks ago. But you don't remember. Because the things that we remember are the things that are tied to strong emotion. Strong emotion. So if you let yourself get stuck in negative emotion, that's going to become a personality. And remember, So I am insecure. Here's the deal, and I want you guys to remember this. Your personality creates your personal reality. I had a really ugly personality. I wasn't a nice person. I wasn't a happy person.
Why?
Well, because I let things in my past become my present, and I was thinking about them all the time. And if I'm constantly thinking about the things in my past that hurt me, then that's what this moment's about. And then that's what this moment's going to be about. And this moment's going to be about. And soon, my past was all I knew. And my past became my present, became my future. So I decided, you know what? This is going to be my weapon, and I'm not going to let people make me insecure about it. And I decided to be really intentional. So let me ask you, if you got on the plane, has everybody flown in a plane? Yeah? Has anybody not flown in a plane? Okay, so if you haven't flown in a plane, but have you been on a bus? Yeah? So everybody's been either on a plane or on a bus, right? Okay. So let's say you wanted to go somewhere, and you get on the airplane and you sit down, or the bus, and the pilot, the driver, says, hey, so I know that you want to go to California, and I'm pretty sure that we're going to go there. Maybe. I mean, I'm like 80% sure that I know how to get there. Are you going to want to start on that trip with him? No. You want to know that the pilot knows exactly where you want to go, right? You want to know he is clear. You want to know that he has the full intention of getting you to California. Not just San Diego, but LA, right? That's where you want to go. Yeah. So it's the same thing with your day. If you wake up and you're not clear what you want to do with your day, guess what you get? Pretty much crap. Yeah. I mean, you can get anything. If you're not clear where you want to go, then you just go wherever. Yeah. You know, there's this line in Alice in Wonderland, and I think Alice is saying, she's asking, directions, or one of the characters is asking directions, and the cat's like, well, where do you want to go? She's like, well, I don't know, I don't really care. And he says, well, then what's it matter? So you guys didn't wake up this morning and maybe think about getting dressed. Y'all intentionally got dressed, right? Yeah. Yeah, and that intent made sure that your shoes matched, your dress, and everything was, Florida Gators, that was intentional, right? You packed that. We should be as intentional about the things that we do in life. So I intentionally decided that I was going to start having some fun. And I started seeking out people that were givers, people that were loving life. And this is one of my friends and I, and we were doing a mud run as Batgirl. Still, again, the superhero's powers. Yep. So the neat thing is they had an obstacle course there, and I've got one arm and I'm climbing the obstacle course, and people that have two arms are walking around it.
Wow.
And do you think I was shaming them? No. Yep. I was like, come on, you got two hands. Get up here and do this. You know, and that's right. Well, I did it with one hand. Do you really need two hands? No. We can do all sorts of things. You can find a way to do anything you want. If anybody says that you can't do something, don't believe them. What you need to do is find people who will help you find a way. I shoot a bow with my mouth. People didn't think that was possible. After I lost my arm, I went in and I was like, hey, I want to learn how to shoot a bow. And the guys at the counter were like, you know you need two hands for that, right? And I was pretty embarrassed and kind of rejected, and I left, and I'll get to the rest of that story later, but I shoot it with my mouth. I learned how to, I don't know what that was. I learned how to fall that day. It's a tube, and it was going really fast. Yep. Huh? Oh, he says it was an epic fail. Now, was it a fail? Because I was the one on the water, right? I was the one doing the thing. When people, huh? It was a success. You know what? Here's the deal, guys. You never fail. You either win or you learn. Right? Can you say that? You either win or you learn. You either win or you learn. Right. So I learned that falling hurts. So that's what I learned. But I did not lose, and I did it again too. But you see, I'm not covering up my arm there.
That's because you had your arm at the time.
Well, it's the same arm as I have now. I just don't have a hand. But you know, a lot of people will walk around with their amputated limb all covered up, and I know so many people like that. And I decided I wasn't going to be that way. I wasn't going to be ashamed of anything. I was going to help people see who they are. So I went whitewater rafting.
Wow.
We actually went underwater, and then it spit us bad out. Yeah. So it was like bull riding. I had one hand, and I was just doing this thing. So yeah, yes. I'm not ashamed of it, but this is a compression sleeve, and I have a lot of pain. So having the pressure on the nerves takes away some of the pain. So yeah, this is more of a functional thing. So I actually learned how to roll a whitewater kayak. Yep. So that's me. Yeah, you did that? So here's the deal, guys. I wanted to do that, and people said, no, you need two hands. So what did I do? I found somebody who would help me figure it out, right? So there's this little device that you can see is strapped to my stump there that attaches to the paddle. It's not that I can't do it. It's not that you can't do it. It's that we do it differently. It takes us a little bit longer. We do things differently, but there's nothing that we can't do. Well, I can't left-handed arm wrestle, but you know, I'm working on that. I'm working on it. I learn a lot. I never lose, but I learn a lot. So what we think about, guys, and what we're thankful for, that's what happens in our life. I came out of that ditch thankful for what I do have. So when you're in a mood, what I want you to do is start being thankful about something. What do you have to be thankful for? Because you got a lot to be thankful for. Yeah, thank you for Jesus, for parents. So this little girl, oh my God, guys, she's amazing. I went to Haiti, and this little girl, her name is Maranatha, right here. She was born without a foot. This foot is about the size of a 2-year-old's, and she has no arms, no hands. She was found on the side of the road by a doctor who makes prosthetic limbs. And when I was there, she came in. She's 16 years old. She came in, and this is the first day in her life that she had ever walked. Now, I know that you guys know when you're, now this is the way she had walked her whole life. She's like this, and she's dragging her leg, right? So she had never straightened out her legs or put weight on them. So you know that tendons and muscles get really tight, right? We've all experienced that. I watched this little girl stand up on that leg straight. And you could see the pain in her eyes. It hurt so bad. And she never stopped. The doctor would ask, "Are you in pain?" And she would shake her head no. And I got to take her on her first walk, and she would walk until she absolutely collapsed. Just exhausted. But she never gave up. That's a girl who's living with hope. Hope of walking. And in Haiti, if you're an amputee, they treat you like dogs. You have no value. If you can't work, like my grandpa said, if you don't work, you don't eat. In that country, if you can't work, you're not worth anything. So to her, this was life to her. And I learned so much from this little girl. And I had a prosthetic at the time, and you can see her looking at that. In Haiti, they will make some leg prosthesis, but they don't make the arm ones, or they didn't. I can't wear it anymore. Because I was wrestling with my nephew, and I took a knee to the vein here, and it collapsed, and now I don't have the blood flow for it. So, it was a real smart move. So that's her walking. And when I got back, she inspired me so much. I was like, man, that little girl is grateful. She can now walk, and she has a chance at a real life. And when I got back, I kept in contact with them. And what I found out was the coolest thing. They said, Sammy, that day when you showed her how that hook worked, that inspired her to want to have hands. That's never something she ever even thought about. So I came back to Boise with a clear intention. I was going to help that little girl. Because like Yoda says, are we Yoda fans here? We like Yoda? I love Yoda. Oh my God, he's awesome. There is no try. There is only do. That little girl didn't try to stand up. Have you ever said, well, I will try to do something? If you say, I will try, you have already failed. Trying, no, let's say right now you're going to try to stand up. No, you either stand up or you don't, right? Well, I'm going to try to finish this project. No, if you're going to go at something with a try, don't even do it. Because you're setting yourself up for failure. You're going to do this. When you want something, say, I'm going to do this. Be like Mary Natha. You just stand and you go through the pain and you do the work. So, visualization, it's a mind-body hack. Remember when I said think of the happy time, think of the lemon? What you visualize your body responds to? When you want to do something you've never done, you need to visualize yourself already doing it. Because your mind and your body don't know the difference. If you visualize yourself already doing it, it finds it easier to actually do it because you've already done it in your mind. What? Okay. So 10 minutes a day. Guys, gratitude. Remember how grateful I talked about how she was? And how grateful I was coming out of the ditch? Do you know that with 10 minutes of feeling gratitude, and I'm not talking about saying I'm so thankful, I'm talking about closing your eyes, thinking of 3 things that you're grateful for, and like really getting in the experience. Not just saying the words, but feeling the gratitude. When you do that, your body releases a chemical that is the strongest healing agent your body could release. It kills bacteria, it kills viruses, and it heals tissue. 10 minutes of gratitude. You want to have a change in your body? You want to be healthier? You want to be mentally stronger? Start your day with 10 minutes of gratitude. I swear it will change your life. 10 minutes. So I came back to Boise and I started a fundraiser. Now, I know you guys know that dude right there, right? Who's that? Dorian. Yes, and his little boy. Well, you weren't here last year? Oh, you so missed out. Dorian's awesome. Yeah, Dorian's awesome. So anyway, he's one of my friends. And I started a fundraiser to raise money. Guys, please pay attention. He's a friend of mine. He spoke here last year. Yeah. And he's a Paralympic athlete as well. Absolutely amazing. Wow. So I raised money Because remember, if you're not giving, you're not what? Living. If you're not giving, you're not. All right. So I learned the power of giving. We raised enough money to buy Maranatha hands. And now Maranatha is in school. She's the first person in her family to go to school. Her goal is to teach so that she can raise money for her mom and her dad. That one act of giving and her determination to do not try has changed her family's life forever. That little girl didn't have any chance of being anything, but she found it inside, and she found people who told her what? That she could do it. They helped her find a way. You guys can do that too. So remember when I said like a magnet to steal? When I left high school, I attracted all these crappy people to my life because I felt pretty crappy about myself. Like attracts like. So with this attitude of gratitude and wanting to change people's lives, I went to a sports clinic one day, and I learned to surf, and I learned to do all sorts of stuff, and I met this lady. This lady joined the Army at 19 years old, got a bad vaccination. It threw her into a coma. She woke up 6 months later and had lost everything. She now has MS because of the vaccination. She's one of only 5 ladies that are still alive in her unit. It killed everybody. She got so depressed. She gained a lot of weight. And she said, Sammy, I was laying in bed just waiting to die. And then one morning she woke up and she made a decision. And she said, screw this. I am now more afraid of not living than I am of dying. So she came to that clinic, and I got to take her on her first swim. We're sitting there at the hotel room, and she's looking out at the ocean. She says, you know what? I've never been swimming. And I'm like, what? You've never been in the ocean? I was like, everybody has to be in the ocean. I think everybody should feel the sand in their toes and the water on their feet. So I was like, that's it. We're going down. We're going to the ocean. So I go down to the lobby, and they get this big chair with the wheels. And I said, I need you to take us down to the beach. And they said, well, here's the chair. You figure it out. So she's not a little girl, and I have one hand. And there's about 100 yards of beach. So I push her down to the beach. Now, grant you, she can't walk.
Why does she can't walk?
Because she broke her back, and she's got MS, so she can't walk. So I push her down, and I'm trying to figure out how we're going to do this, right? So I was like, all right, I'm going to push the chair out, and when it starts to float, slide out, and then I'm going to push the chair up on the beach, and we're just going to kind of sit in the water. So we do that, and she's sitting in the water, and the waves came in, and then they kind of floated her out, and the waves came in, and they kind of floated her out, and pretty soon she's out there. And I've got my one arm, right? And the tide keeps taking us further and further out. And the lifeguards are looking at us, and I'm doing this, and they think I'm waving because I don't have a hand. And they're like, those girls are having such a good time, and he's waving back, and I'm thinking, nope. And just then, I had a wardrobe malfunction. So I'm like this because my swimsuit's not staying attached. I've got one arm, and we keep getting floated further and further out in the water. So I'm bouncing and pushing and bouncing, and I'm like, okay, we got to swim now. And she's just giggling. She's like, you know I can't swim. I can't even walk. And I'm thinking, great, this is how I'm going to die. This is not good. I'm going to drown. So finally we get her I get her up to the beach. And we are low crawling through the sand. I mean, we are exfoliated, really exfoliated. And it was that weekend that we decided that we were going to do something daring. And we decided that we should learn to shoot archery. She didn't really know how, and I'd shot a couple times with my mouth. We had 19 months to make the Paralympics. I didn't know how to shoot a bow. Now, does that sound reasonable? I don't know how to shoot a bow, and I want to make the Paralympics. Sounds a little crazy. I happen to like crazy. I happen to like doing things that people say you can't do. So I found people who would help me do it. Again, there's nothing that you guys can't do. You just find people who will help you find a way. So I started training. She and I dropped everything. We moved in together in Colorado Springs, and we started shooting 6 or 7 hours a day in a freezing range that didn't have heat in Colorado Springs, in the ice. It was miserable. And we didn't have coaches that knew how to coach paras. So we're out there watching YouTube videos trying to figure out how to shoot bows. And we had 6 months to make the national team. So here I am. I don't know how to shoot. I only have one hand, and my first competition is going to be with about 800 archers. And I have to feel like I belong. So this is where the power of that mind-body connection comes in. I started visualizing myself at that competition as if I should be there, as if I belonged. And I would tell myself over and over every day, I'm a member of the U.S. Paralympic team. I shoot X's and 10s. It's like me to shoot 640 and above. I shoot best under pressure, in competition, and in front of people I want to impress. I'm a member of the U.S. Para Archery team. And I would drill that into my head. I recorded myself saying it, and I played it over and over and over and over. Because I had to be that person here and just let reality catch up. And I knew that when I went to that first competition that I would probably miss the target, just because nerves and everything else. So I wanted to plan for that too. Remember, I never fail. I either learn or win. Okay? So I visualized what that was going to be like. I had already gone through the whole competition so many times in my mind that it was a done deal. So when I got there, this is what I face. I have all these people. And look at this. Look. Wheelchair. He doesn't have a leg. Wheelchair. Wheelchair. He doesn't have a leg. He doesn't have a hand. These people are completely blind. Did you know blind archery is a world level event? No. Yeah. It'll be in the next Paralympics. Yeah. And I was like, this guy right here, no arms. He's an archer. Want to guess how he shoots his bow? With his feet. Yes. So there is a way to do anything you want to do, guys. Anything you want to do. And Leah and I both made the national team in 5 months and the world team in 7 months. And this is at the World Championships. Been shooting a bow 7 months. That is the power of your thinking. That is the power of the words that you put behind those two I am. It creates the reality. Remember, your personality creates your personal reality. I had the personality of I belong. I had the personality of a winner. I had a personality of a doer. And that's the same power that you guys can do. So then, if you're not giving, you're not? Right. Right. So I went back home and I decided that I wanted to help other people experience the same thing I do. So I start putting on clinics, for people that are blind, that are wheelchairs, stroke victims, kids. It's freaking awesome. And it changes their life because just like me, it lets them know that they can achieve anything. And guys, there are things that you do that people in your same situation believe they can't. You need to be that voice to show them they can. It's your responsibility to give that back. I love this kid right here. Look at that determination. He is like focused. This guy is blind. So I built a stand for him so that he, when he has a bow draw, can put it on the back of his hand and he knows where he's aiming. There's always a way. Always, always. So this little lady, that day that we decided that we were going to make the team, we both made the Paralympic team. She was the first woman in history to represent the United States in the W1 compound in the Paralympics. And I was the first woman to represent in the open compound. Yeah. Thank you. And I don't say that to brag, but why I say that is because I want you guys to be the first in anything. There are so many people out there that don't believe that they can do it, much less you.
I can. I can too.
And you can. When it comes to athletics, the world is open. There are so many programs that you can do. When I went to the Paralympics, there were people there that could only move their mouth. But there are sports that they could adapt to do that. If I can leave you with anything, I want you guys to understand that when you leave here today, you don't have any excuses. I never want to hear that you say, I can't, or I'm not good enough, or I'm not smart enough, because you are. And there are people out there to help you. It takes clear intention. What do you want? You have dreams. I know you do. Anybody with a breath has a dream. What do you want? Don't be the pilot that thinks we might maybe get somewhere someday, right? Write down what you clearly want. Like attracts like. So if you don't like what your life looks like, you got to look at yourself.
No.
If you want a better life, you got to work on yourself.
No.
Okay? Yes. And constant gratitude, guys. Gratitude changes everything. And that's us in the opening ceremony at the Paralympics. Well, no, she's in her chair, but you know what? She lost 90 pounds.
She did.
She lost 90 pounds by focusing on training and what she wanted. Yeah. Yes. So that's me shooting in Rio. I got one hand. Yep.
But how do you do that?
I'm going to bring my bow tomorrow, and I'll show you guys. I'll show you video of how I shoot, and I'll draw it back for you. But here's what I want you guys to do. There's a superhero inside of every one of us. I want to know if you have the courage to put on the cape.
No.
Only you get to decide that. I believe you do. Everybody has the courage to put on the cape if they decide, right?
Yeah.
So here's the deal. What are you saying about yourself? I am. And I help people by what? I want you guys to think about this. Come up with a superhero name. You know, I am the one-armed archer, and I help people by teaching them how to believe in themselves and change their reality. So we're going to talk about this tomorrow, guys. I'm serious. I want you to think of a superhero name. I want you to think of something that you want to do. I want you to come up with a superpower, because you all have one, but you just haven't been taught to think about it. Superman, yes, and what's your superpower? So tomorrow I'm going to ask you guys. All right. So tomorrow I'm going to ask you guys. So you actually have homework from this one. I know, right? But this is fun homework. You get to create your own superhero. Okay, so here's the deal. You don't have, whoa. Settle down. Now, if you don't want homework, then you don't get to be superheroes tomorrow, so you choose. Okay? But I believe you all are. You don't need to care what I want, but I care what you want. Because I think you guys all kick ass, honestly. Oh, sorry. Did I just do a bad? I do. I believe in you. And here's the deal, guys. If you don't believe in you, you borrow my belief in you. I believe enough in you. You borrow that. You can borrow it as long as you want until you build your own, okay? Yes, get together with your friends, because you know what? They've got superhero names for you. They know how awesome you are. Have fun with this, because tomorrow I want to hear how much fun you've had with it. I want to know what your vision is for your superhero power, okay? You guys have been awesome. And I'm going to have some books up here that I wrote a book with some ladies. We got together, and what we decided was that we were tired of other people putting limitations on us. So we wrote a book called Their Ceiling, Your Floor. They say you can only go this high. We go higher and then stand on that. So it's a book about how we've overcome all sorts of things. So I've got that for sale up here, and I've also got some of my Paralympic athlete cards. So I've got 10 books with me. The first 10, get to take them home with them today. The others we'll order and we'll mail to you. So I'll have this up here. Yes?
I was just claiming one.
Okay, well, we'll get them set up here. So guys, thank you for giving me this time in your day. It's been a real honor, a real pleasure to be up here. Thank you very much, and I will see you tomorrow.